everybody. Happy Sunday. So how is everybody tonight? Hopefully you'll all be able to find me pretty soon. People are starting to come in though. That's good. So I've been working all day in my sewing. I love working in my sewing room. It's my favorite place to sit. Hello. I can't see who you are yet. Just a second. Oh, I can see a couple people. Now all of a sudden there's 10. It's amazing how quickly people come in. When everybody finds me finally, there's a lot of people that come in. I love my sewing room too, Sissy. It's a very nice room. It's supposed to be the family room in my house, and it's always been my work room, because at first I made dolls, so I taught doll making classes, porcelain doll classes, and this is my studio. And then it became my sewing room after I stopped doing doll classes. So I do love it out here. It's on the southwest corner. It's very light during the day. And so I've always enjoyed sitting out here. And so this is usually where I come, I get up in the morning and I come out and I start working, and I've been working on crafting today and sewing and cutting some kits. So I've had all kinds of things to do today. So how is everybody doing? We got people coming in. Hello, everybody. Making sure that I can see everybody's name. Now, again, remember, we're going to have a drawing at the end of the class, and you need to comment, okay, in order to get in the drawing, because I'm going to give away another sample. So I have another sample to give away tonight. So make sure you comment to get in the drawing for the sample. Okay. So every week we'll have a sample. Jan has a lot of samples. So, and they're nice samples. I hate to have them just like sitting in a box. I might as well, I'd like to give them away to people that would like to use them. So I just picked out a whole bunch of different samples, and I'll mail them to you. I'm not going to mail out of the United States. So there's a few people that are from the outside of the United States. You do not need any for tonight. Whoever asked that about the stabilizer, there is no stabilizer tonight, Jackie. No stabilizer. I'm not using any stabilizer on these, believe it or not. So anyway, so we're going to quilt. We quilted the cutie, and I gave you a pre-recorded video. So you'll have that same video to go back to each month when we do one of these, okay? Because it's going to be done the same way. You can quilt them any way you want. Some people told me they use their long arms. Some people have told me they use just straight line quilting. Some people said that they just stitched in the ditch. Whatever. I taught them using the clear blue tiles, because I thought it was something that, oh, sorry, I'm going to have a helper. Somebody's coming to visit. She heard me started to talk. She likes when I talk. I think she thinks I'm talking to her. So, all right, let me turn the banner off here. So my lap is being kneaded right now. So she's very happy. Okay. Yeah, I know. She even had TREATSs. I can't say it again because she'll want more. Okay, so tonight we're going to do the embroidery. So remember, we kind of did these backwards from the actual instructions. So I'm going to turn the camera over here. Okay, so remember, you need to comment in order to be in the drawing at the end. Okay, so don't forget to comment and ask questions and stuff. Okay, so let me get switched over here just a minute. Okay, get to the other camera and the other microphone. Okay, kid, you're gonna have to get down. Okay. All right. So we kind of did these backwards. So originally the way these are supposed to be done. So I'm going to go back to the instructions here, the book. And let me find the February one here in a second. All right. So it says, after you put the triangles, on the corners, you're supposed to do the embroidery. That's where it tells you, after you square it up to the 18 by 18, you're supposed to do the embroidery. Okay. And then you're supposed to put the borders on, and so on. But we did it differently. So what I decided, because I wanted to be able to quilt this with it going through the backing, and I didn't want to have to quilt around those appliques because I'm not a very good free motion quilter. So we kind of did it backwards. So here's my second here. I'm trying to get rid of all these little things I don't want to knock on the floor here. Okay, so here's my table topper that I quilted. Okay, and I just did the swirl pattern that's out of the clear blue tiles. I'll get it spit out eventually here, guys. Sorry. So I just used the swirl pattern, and I had a lot of people telling me they're using the heart ones. You can do any kind of you can do any design you want. If you have other designs from Kimberbell, just use one of those. You know, for the March one, I used a different one, but I wanted to use some of them out of the actual clear blue tiles. So this is one of the clear blue tile ones. Okay, so whatever you use was absolutely fine. However you quilted is absolutely fine. So this is all quilted and ready to go. So the next step then is going to be the embroidery. So to do this embroidery, sorry, Gigi, you're not going to be able to sit there. She's sitting on the end of my sewing machine. Okay. So what I did to do the embroidery then, so on the CD, it's separate from the book. This set of table toppers was originally just a sewing pattern. Okay. And so it was done with machine, traditional machine embroidery that you would cut out the little pieces and you'd sew around them with your sewing machine. Okay. So afterwards they digitized them and made them into embroidery designs. So the way I'm going to do this then, there is going to be no stabilizer. Because remember, we put the shape flex on this piece, these corner pieces, and we have batting in here. So batting and the shape flex are going to act as a stabilizer, okay? And I didn't have any trouble with mine at all. So here's the one that I've got already done, so you can see. But the one difference here, since we have already quilted it, you're going to see the back. So what I did to make the back look pretty is I just put matching thread in the bobbin. So I have my matching embroidery thread in the bobbin just to make it pretty. Now you don't have to. You can just put bobbin thread in and that's fine. But I just thought it looked prettier with the solid red on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and I wound a bobbin of my red thread here. And here's my bobbin with my red thread. Okay. So this is just my embroidery thread. And I think I used a brother thread. I think it's called Candy Apple Red. Yeah, this is Candy Apple Red. So it's a dark red. Matches my fabric that I cut for my X's and O's. And I'll tell you how big these are in a second here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in my machine. And I'm just going to use this in the bobbin. I'm going to do all the placement lines and everything with just that bobbin, the embroidery thread in the bobbin. Okay, and I'll put that, I've got that on the top. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to have some pieces for our applique. And on the, just so you know, the X's and O's they weren't done as one pair. Because in the book, I could see that they looked like they were the same color on the design. Like right here, I could see they looked like they were the same color. So I just assumed that they were one piece and everything was done at the same time, but it's not. So you could make them in separate colors if you wanted. I just made mine all red. So what I did is I cut my fabric. It doesn't really tell you what to cut your fabric, but I cut my fabric. I have 8 of these, for the X and O in each corner. 3.5 by 2.5, just so that I could do each one separately. If you want to do different colors, like you want to do red and pink or hot pink and red or whatever color you want to do, you can cut half and half of these. But there's 8 of these little pieces of fabric for our appliques, okay? So that's kind of the difference. So the other different thing is, the easiest way to get this to work and to get it in the hoop, because the first step in the actual embroidery design, I'm going to show you, I've got it up here, okay, is a little placement line. Okay, so that placement line was actually the placement line for the raw edge of that center square. Okay, so the center square, the raw edge. So since we already have this put together, we have an extra 2.5 inches or 2.25 inches of fabric. So it would make it really hard to get it lined up, you know, with that line. So this is the easiest way to do it. If you do not have software, there is a free software called Embroidery Toolshed, and you can go, and I'll put this in the description too, that you can go to inspiredbydime.com and download this free software. And what you can do is you can open up the design and you can print a template. Okay, so since we don't have the raw edge here, you know, we have this put together, it's going to be kind of hard to use that placement line. So we'll just skip it. But it prints it out on the piece of paper. So this is just a piece of paper. And what I like to use for my templates, just grab this here. I like to use the Dime, the Dime print and stick target paper. It's like a repositionable paper that you can print your design out on. And then you can use it over and over. You can also just use a piece of paper if you don't have it. I have it at the store. And what's nice then, see, it is got a paper backing, if I can get a hold of it. And I can just pull this off and then see, I can use this over and over. Now mine, I'm going to have problems with because I must have put the paper on backwards. Whoops. Okay. So obviously I put the paper on backwards on this one, and I didn't notice that until just now. So let me see if I can get it off enough I can use it. Otherwise I'll use the paper with the tape. Okay. I'm going to have to because I'm not going to be able to get this off. So when you put it back on the paper, put it back on this shiny side, not the paper side. Whoops. Okay. So we'll just use the paper. So we'll use that. It's a good thing that I show you these things, right? So this is a piece of one. This is one that I trimmed, or I printed out earlier. On the target page, which size do you print on? Oh, it's the kind of rough side. No, you don't sew through this, sissy. But my problem is I put it on the wrong way on the paper. I put it back on the target paper on the non-shiny side, and now I can't get it off. So no, you do not sew through this. This is just to help you line it up. But we're going to use this one tonight, okay? Because I can't use this one because I can't get it off. Whoops. All right, well, we'll just, I didn't notice that. I should have looked earlier, shouldn't I? Okay, so I printed this off. This line right here is that placement line that is on the screen that I just showed you. This line right here. But we need to move it up a little bit because remember, we already have our seam allowance in here. So there's a 1/4 inch seam allowance in here. Okay. So we need to move that up a little bit. So what I did, and you can probably see my other line, I just took a pencil and I drew a line 1/4 inch above that line and 1/4 inch inside that line, because that is going to actually be what we're going to use for our placement, since the 1/4 inch seam is like the end of the fabric would be right here. It's too hard inside to figure out where that is. So I just drew a 1/4 inch line. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors, since we're going to be using this tonight. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to draw on those pencil lines. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to cut my template out on those pencil lines that I drew the 1/4 inch higher. Okay, and I'm going to cut this one out. See, it was a good thing I printed this out tonight, wasn't it? So it is very easy to use paper. If you don't have the target paper, it's fine. I love the target paper, and normally I don't do that, but I did this quite a long time ago when I was at my dad's, and I just put it on backwards. You can see it's shiny on this side, and that's the side it's supposed to be stuck on, and then it doesn't stick like that. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this down a little bit so that some of this paper's off of here. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit, okay? Because when you print this, you want to print it with our little, what is Target paper? The Target paper is, I got to find it again. Here it is. This is what I normally use, okay? What it is a repositionable paper that runs through your printer, and then you can print, and then you can reuse that same design over and over, and it has a light tacky on the back. And this is what I normally use when I do these, but in this case I stuck it on the wrong side. The one I had already printed, I stuck it on the wrong side when I did my first one, and I didn't realize I had. So the trick is one side's kind of shiny and the other side's paper. So make sure you stick it on the shiny side so that you can use your template again. But in this case, we're going to use the paper. So you can also use paper. Now give me a second. I got to grab some tape here. Oh, here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Kimberbell paper tape, and I'm going to put paper tape on the back to hold it in place. So this works just fine. You don't have to have the Target paper. I have it on the website, and it's on shieldsewingcenter.com, and it's in the store. But if you don't have it, when I get desperate and I don't have it, I use paper. I just print it off on my printer paper. Okay, so I'm going to put my paper tape on here just to hold this on. We just need it for a few minutes when we're lining this up. Okay. So this is not as easy as using the Target paper because that has a tacky on it, but this works. Okay. And if you don't have software, if you have software, just open it up and print it. Make sure you print it with the little hash marks on it so you can tell where the centers are and everything. Okay. All right. So, and remember, I moved up from the original design. I drew a 1/4 inch above that placement line that was on the bottom of it. Okay. No, I would not use glue stick on this because it might leave a residue on the top of your quilt of your top. So no, I would not use glue stick. Okay. So the other thing I'm going to do, so this is going to fit in this corner. So since I took the 1/4 inch off, you know, I moved that placement line up, I'm going to lay this right in the corner, right against that seam allowance then, like this. And just stick it down, okay? So that's how it's going to be in here, like that. So give me a second here. I'm going to pull my other one up so you can see the one that was all sewn out. Okay. So here's the one that's all sewn out. All right. Just like that. Now let's look at the orientation of it on the screen. So if you see how this is oriented, it is tipped to the right. So when I put this in my machine, I want it to match what it looks like on the screen. Okay. So I'm going to turn this so that it looks like it does on the screen. So in other words, I need it to look like this. So I have it in the corner where I want it, but it needs to look like the picture on the screen. So here's my screen. So it's tipped, the X is tipped on the top like this. Okay, and so I need it like this. So in other words, this is the top. So you can see the little arrow on my printout here. And I'm going to use my snowman because it's so easy because we've been using our snowman. A lot of you have this. I'm going to put my snowman sticker in the center of my template. And I'm going to line up my lines. I always have a little trouble getting them lined up. I have to take my time and do it. Get it all lined up. So get your little snowman on right in the center there on all those hash marks. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Still a little crooked. I have more trouble getting it on the lines than anything. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to stick it down to my paper, and I'm just going to leave it on there. You can change the direction on the machine, yes, but I don't know that you would want to, because this is going to be, it almost fits in a 5x7 hoop. The reason it's oriented that way is because they're trying to make it be the most economical for hoop size. Okay, so I am going to use a larger hoop tonight just because I have a larger hoop, and I know, Sissy, you have a larger hoop. Okay, it will almost fit in a 5x7 like this. It's a little, it actually will. It's 5.07, which it will fit in a 5x7. However, I'm going to use a little bit bigger hoop so I have a little bit more wiggle room for aligning it for the snowman. Okay, so I am going to use a little bit bigger hoop. I think I'm going to use my 8x8. Oops, now I have my template partially attached to my book. Not having much luck with that template, am I? Okay, so it's always good to have plan B. All right, so I think I'm going to use let's see what this one does. I think I might use my 8x8 hoop. Gives me just a little bit of wiggle room. You could use a 6x10. That would be another one. Okay. And I'm going to use a magnetic hoop just because I feel like I can get I don't know. Maybe I'll use a 6x10. I'd like to have a little bit more over here to hoop. So I think I will use the 6x10. I got 2 of them out. So let's try the 6x10. It's a little longer, but it will let me hoop over here. So let me grab my 6x10 here. I got both of them out. I honestly don't remember which one I used when I did this. It has been quite a while ago I made this one. So it's been, oh golly, maybe last spring, I want to say. Okay, so this one, there we go. So now see, I've got a little more over here that's going to hoop in my hoop. So I'm going to go and I'm going to try to get my little snowman sticker. You know, the center of him is in the body. Okay. I'm going to try to get that lined up about centered approximately. And then I'm going to slide my top part of my hoop in. And this is the 6x10. And you can use any size you want. The 5x7 would work, but if you're not pretty close to being dead center, I'm sorry, Lynn. Of course, it always works out that it happens right when you need the internet, right? But if you do this on your 5x7, you would have to be pretty dead on in order for it to be wide enough this way. Okay. So I'm going to use the 6x10 because it just gives me a little wiggle room. Okay. All right. So I've got it in there. I've got and it's not hooped at the bottom. That's fine. And you notice there's no stabilizer. So I didn't put any stabilizer because we've got stabilizer on, we've got shape flex on the back of this corner, and I've got batting. So that will act as my stabilizer, okay? And it's not a real super dense design. Okay, so there is my template. I've got my snowman on there. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to, just like we've done before, and I showed this in the quilting, I'm going to hit my little snowman guy. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit scan. And OK one more time. And it's going to scan it. And it's going to find the little snowman. It's just going to scan. Get this one out of the way. Whoops, I don't want to knock my arm off. There we go. Okay, so it looks like it found him. And as you can see, it wants to move my template just a hair on the side over here because I don't have it glued all the way down like with the normal template. And I should have looked at it a little closer this morning, but I didn't. Okay, but it still found it. It found the center. Everything's centered. It says remove the embroidery positioning mark. Okay, we'll do that. I'll just take this whole thing off of the corner. Okay, got it all in there. It's all ready to go. All right, so the instructions for the embroidery, would it be that easy for me? Jackie, yes, because you have a camera, you have a snowman. Just do the same thing I did. Yours is going to say on the last screen where the snowman is. Instead of layout, yours says edit. So just put it all the way into the embroidery screen, and then hit edit, and then hit the little snowman, and away it goes. But you just need to find the sticker. Go find your little snowman sticker. So yes, you have that. I know, isn't it amazing? I love the snowman. It's so easy and it just works great. Okay. So in the CD section, that no, Lois, your 3700D will not do the snowman, but you can use that template. Like I showed you, you won't have the snowman, but you have the lines and you can use your plastic grid to line it up. So just hoop it in your 6x10 hoop, use your plastic grid and line up the center and you will be fine. But it would help if you use the template. Print out a template and that will make it easier for you. Okay. And it's very easy to use the templates. I did that I did one of the hoopings in the quilting with a standard template. So you do it the same way. It's just on the corner instead. Okay, does that make sense? So yes, you'll be able to do it, but you'll just have to do it with your grid instead of the snowman. You don't have a snowman on your machine. Okay. I've done lots of hooping that way, so it's not hard. Yes, but the magnetic hoop, yes, you can buy this. This is the largest one you can use for your machine. It's 6x10. So yes, if you don't have these, they're awesome. They're up on shieldsewingcenter.com, and you can buy a 6x10, a 5x7, and a 4x4 to use on your machine. I use all of those sizes very often. So I think that if you don't have one of these, get one. They're great. Okay, so on the CD with the embroidery designs, there's a few instructions, not a ton. There's just some basic instructions for machine applique. And then they give you the color charts, for each one. And I just said in here that you cut the XO pieces. I had 8 that were 3.5 by 2.5. So here's my little pieces. And I made mine all red. And I'm going to use the red for the quilting or for the embroidery. Okay, so I'm all set. I am going to, the first step is that placement line. Now remember, that was for 1/4 of an inch lower than we put it because that was for the raw edge. We don't need that. So I'm actually going to just skip through it. So we don't need that. Okay, so we're going to get ready and we're going to do the placement line for the first letter. Okay, and we're going to do this 4 times. And one in each corner. One set in each corner. So this is our placement line. And you could do this, you could pre-cut these if you wanted to on your standing cut. So it's going to do the X first. Okay. And then I'm going to lay my fabric over the X. Now mine are there. I didn't cut them any too large, just so you know. I didn't want to waste a lot of fabric. I didn't have a ton of this, so I kind of was a little skimpy, but they're big enough. So then we're going to lay it down and we're going to sew out the tack down line and then we'll trim. Okay, so now we're going to trim the X. Okay, so I'm just going to trim it close to the stitches with and I got new scissors. They actually cut. I'm so excited. It's just those little things in life, guys. Okay, we're going to do, now I'm going to very carefully push this out because I can't get to it very easily. Okay, so we're going to trim this. And you could, like I said, if you wanted to cut these out with your scan and cut, you could have cut them out with your scan and cut and just drop them in. These were such simple little shapes, I just decided to trim them. It's not a big deal. Just depends on what they are sometimes. Sometimes I like to trim and sometimes I like the scan and cut. So, okay, so we're going to, and these are actually got really nice satin stitches. So they are quite generous with the satin stitch. So if you're not real super duper close, it's fine. Because it's got a nice heavy satin stitch on it. But the snowman feature has been on the machines since the Quattro. So it's been on the machines for some time. So a lot of you have that. Yep, I'm so sorry I didn't have my paper stuck though. I hadn't looked at it. I didn't look at it that close this afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to slide this back in. And now it's going to do the placement line for the O. So we'll do that. Get another piece of fabric ready. I love using templates is so easy. And when you use it for the fabric, it makes it easy. You can do, but you don't have to use it for that. You can just trim like I did. So whichever works better for you. I know I just trimmed my other one too. Okay, so there's our placement line. Oh, cool. Denise said she cut out bare pieces with her scan and cut yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to cover up my line. Okay, and we're going to do the tack down line for that piece of fabric. And like I said, I didn't make these overly large. Oops, my machine didn't cut evidently. I need to have my machine cleaned. It's getting very dirty. I use a lot of cotton fabric. Cool. That's great, Jackie. Okay, so now we're going to trim this one close to the stitches. And remember, I have my matching embroidery thread in my bobbin. If you don't care that if there's white bobbin thread, just use white bobbin thread. Doesn't matter. But I just thought it'd be prettier to put the color on the back. And I thought it was kind of attractive to have color on the back of it. And when I have more than one color, then I use multiple colors. You know, I changed like some of them had several colors in the design. So I just changed the design. Or I changed the bobbin threads. So I just wound it on a regular bobbin. Okay, so this is sort of a reverse applique because it's got the little thing in the center for the O. So I'm going to very carefully nip my applique fabric, and then I'm going to trim on the inside also. Just be careful not to nip your top. So I'm just going to trim that out. Now, after class, I will have I scheduled a video. I also made you a new another binding video to be with the cuties. So they'll be in the folder on YouTube with all the cuties. So the quilting video will always be there together with the actual each individual one, okay? And there'll be a binding video. So the binding video will be up on the group about 7 o'clock tonight, okay? And I'll upload it to YouTube shortly after class. Okay, so I'm just a little bit off on this. I need to trim a little bit back here. Okay, all right, so now the next piece is going to be the X. So you could have done these obviously in different colors. I just did mine both in the same color. Just depends on what you want to do. So now it's going to do the satin stitching. No, that is not in the drop box. I did not, Peggy, because really you don't need it. I did on the corner pieces here, that big square we cut. Yeah, there's some there, but there's none on the applique pieces. It's really not necessary. All right, so it's going to do the satin stitching. So is this all making sense to everybody? How I'm doing this. So it's kind of backwards from the way the pattern says. But this way we could quilt it out. Sorry, my cat just tried to jump up and she just put a big scratch down my leg. But with the quilting done this way, we could quilt the whole thing together and not have to do free motion, because these were originally sewing patterns that were done traditionally. And I'm just not a very good quilter to be able to like go around my appliques and stuff. So I decided I needed to be able to figure out a different way to do these. Okay, what did somebody say? Can I use glitter? Yes, you could use glitter. That would be really pretty. You can use anything you want for your appliques, Colleen. That would be great. Yes, I didn't think about that. These were a little more traditional, so I just used fabric on mine, but that would be really pretty to use glitter. You could use leather. There's red leather. That would be really pretty. Oh yeah, you could do anything you wanted with these. Very pretty. I have a little bit of glitter in my one fabric here. Now, if these might just be just slightly wrinkled, but what I did after I got mine done is I just went over to my iron and I just pressed them from the back with a pressing cloth, and it just smoothed everything right out. So I didn't have any trouble. But there is batting and the shape flex, so that's going to act as a stabilizer. Oh, you're okay. That'd be great, Colleen, if you could put it up. Colleen said she'd share her glitter with us when she's done. That would be great. But no, these magnetic hoops work great, really great for this type of quilting, or applique in this case, because then it's easier to get the designs into the hoop, I think, than actual doing the actual hooping. Now, if you're using one of the smaller machines though, like Lois was, there's no template on the on these hoops. You can't put a template in there, but you can use the if you get your little rulers put on your hoops, then you can still find the center. Did you use double-sided fusible batting? No, I did not. I just used standard Hobbs batting. That's what I use. I just pin based, and I just use standard Hobbs 80-20. It's a poly blend, poly cotton blend that I use. Okay. So these do take a few minutes to stitch out because they have quite a lot of satin stitching, and they do a nice job on the satin stitches. So they're nice and thick, and they're dense. And each one of these I did. Yeah, it's just a different way of doing it. I'm not you know, when I'm not a quilter per se. I have a wonderful embroidery machine that will quilt for me, and I am not good at free motioning and doing traditional quilting. So doing it this way, I could quilt my whole thing, and then I could do the embroidery through it. And I like the back the way it is. It looks just fine that way. So what do you think, everybody? You like this method? It's just different. It's kind of backwards. So I kind of was thinking outside of the box when I started these. I'm like, okay, there has to be a way to do this easier. But I ran into a snag with January. So January's, that's why we started with February's. Okay. January's little guy, it's a little snowman, and he was down in the seam allowance down here. So can I use the scan camera and project the image onto the triangle? Yes, you could do that as well. I find that the snowman's faster than the camera. So yes, you could, Betty. I find the snowman faster. So whichever you prefer, if you want to do it that way, try that. Let me know how it works out. I use the snowman quite a lot, and I find this method is very fast with it, and I don't have to do as much scanning then. You know, it still scans, but it scans and centers all in one step, and I don't have to do a second step. But I think it's going to look pretty. Yeah, the free motion quilting for me, I can do it. I am not good at it. So I have so much respect for people who are good at that, because some people are so good at it. And I marvel at watching people free motion quilt. And I am so glad I have an embroidery machine that helps me with that, because I just am not good at it. I'm too tense. I can't relax enough to do it. Oh, you can't get the snowman recognized. Are you putting it on a template, Betty? Are you sticking it down on the template? Yes. Yes, I'm going to use the same template, and I would have used my other one that I used on the first one, but of course I stuck it on the wrong side. So yes, you can use the same template over and over, and then I kept it. So see, I kept that template from last spring when I did this, so that I could use it again, but dummy me put it on the wrong side. So then I couldn't use it again. Let's see, Betty. Oh, you couldn't get your snowman to recognize. You put it on the, okay, so there's a couple of settings that you might possibly have hit in your machine, Betty. Make sure that in one of the, I'll show you when we're done sewing this. There's a setting that you may have set up that may be causing that problem. And make sure that your template is well stuck down and your snowman is well stuck down. It's not like sticking up on a corner. But there is a setting that you might accidentally have turned on that could be causing that. And I'll show you that in a minute, okay? If you're having trouble getting your snowman to recognize. The other thing that causes that is if your light is too light in your area, or if it's too dark. Sometimes it's a lighting thing. And my light's pretty good. I'm a little dark here, but I have lots of lights on. So usually I don't have any trouble. But at the store, I have problems because the machine is often up in the front window. And in the west window, it's so bright sometimes that I can't get the cameras to read correctly. But I'll show you that setting, because you might have something turned on that you don't need turned on. Okay, so it's doing the center. And we'll hoop another one and get it started, but all four of these are the same. So I thought we'd have kind of a short class tonight. So I'm going to do the first one all the way through, and then we'll hoop the second one and get started again. And then for the other ones are going to be done the same way. Just move your template around your tabletop, okay? And then I have the binding video ready to go up. It should go up in about 15 minutes. Oh, the snowman's so easy. Just this is a great reason to use the snowman. I've used the snowman for years because I've had one since the Quattro. Okay, so I have another plan for that one, Carol. The January one, I didn't care for the fact that it had the snowman down in the corner, and you couldn't do it the same way. So I have another plan for that I'm going to share with you, but we're going to do that one in December. So I have a little more time to work on it. And we're going to kind of cheat a little bit. And I also think that the little snowman that's in the corner, he looks very sinister. So I kind of changed him up a little bit so that he's a little more cute. Okay. All right. So we're all done. We're all done. I'm just going to leave that right in the machine because that's the same thing we want. I'm going to take this out. Okay. So there's my design. Now, Betty, this is your setting. Let me check this. So if you have trouble, first of all, it could be the light. So make sure you have ample light, but not too much. But there is a setting in here that sometimes people get turned on by accident and they don't realize it. I have to find it though, just a second. I always have trouble finding it, so don't forgive me while I hunt through here. Okay, so on page 10 on the Luminaire, it says the background image display, and there's a thing that says fabric thickness sensor. Make sure that's turned off. And who asked, did you see my question? Jackie. No, I did not, Jackie. What was your question? Yes, I said you mean about the template and the snowman? You can use the same one over and over. Yes. Okay, but Betty, this could be your problem. Check on page 10 of your Luminaire, and the Dream Machines have the same setting. I can't remember which page it's on. Make sure that that is turned off, because that causes problems with reading the snowman. Okay, so make sure that's turned off. That's something that can happen. All right. Okay, so now we're ready to hoop again. So I'm just going to pull this off. I'm going to pull the top off. Okay. And there's our first look. That looks great. What do you think? Now the back is going to look nice too. So there's going to be some little tails. So you know what we do? You just trim them off. There's going to be a few little tails back here. That's fine. I'm just going to trim them off. Don't trim through the knots. Just trim them short. And they'll be just fine. Like that. Just be careful not to cut through the knot. There. See, it's all cleaned up. It's beautiful on the back now. Okay. So we're going to just turn, and we're going to do another corner. So let me get to another corner here. I'm going to get my template. So here's my template. And remember, the template in Dime Point has a little arrow that tells you what's up. Okay. The up. Looks like you what? Looks like you can use either side. Oh yeah, because, well, I mean, I think it's pretty to have the dark color on there. You know, when I quilted my in the hoop quilts, they all have, I always change, as soon as I put the back on, I change the bobbin thread to embroidery thread, and it makes it very good, attractive. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this one in. So this one needs to be like this. So here's this one. I got to make sure I get it stuck down really well. Okay. And it works better with the, so I'm going to line that up on that seam. Okay. It does work better if you have the template, because it sticks better. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to lay this in here. I'm going to kind of get it centered approximately under the, I'm just centering, using the little snowman to kind of help me approximately here. Going to put this back in. And if you're using a regular hoop, just try to get it as close to the center as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, because especially if you have a snowman. But some of you just don't have magnetic hoops. Now the magnetic hoops, I have to say, I do this a lot. I use magnetic hoops a lot. I love them for this type of thing, you know, for quilting, for embroidery, especially when, like in this case, you know, it's a little bit, it doesn't quite hoop the whole thing in the hoop. Just a second, I'm trying to get this a little bit closer. Just be careful of your fingers, because man, do they ever go in there tight. Yep, and the older machines, you just use, if you don't have it, just put this on and use the little grid and line it up with the lines. And I showed you that in the quilting video, because I knew that some of you didn't have the newer machines, and that's fine, or the smaller machines. But it works just fine. I mean, you know, we've all been quilting and hooping traditionally with a second here, this one corner, I'm having trouble with it. Sorry. You're watching me struggle with my hoop. But I've quilted and I have hooped and all kinds of stuff and centered with traditional hoops for many, many years. So it's not hard to do. Just use your grid. That's what they're for. Okay. All right. So I don't think I have this quite centered, but it's okay. All right. So hopefully, I'm just going to look though, make sure I got enough bobbin thread to do another one. Yeah, I think so. All right. So we got it all centered in there as close as we can. Got it all in the hoop. Make sure all your hoop is nice and straight. You need to make sure the edges are straight. so that you don't have them crooked. Otherwise it'll slip on you. Okay. So I'm just making sure everything's good and straight. Okay. Okay. Make sure this is good and straight. All right. So we're going to go back over here and we're going to hit layout and the snowman and okay and scan. Scan's right down here. You probably can't quite see it. Scan and okay one more time. And it's going to go over here and it's going to scan. See how we do. I like the 6x10 hoop is working very well for this. I might have possibly done mine in a 5x7 and it will work if you're pretty close to centered when it goes, because you have very little wiggle room though, because I think it's like about 0.03 inches. Okay, so now it says on my screen, remove the embroidery positioning mark. Okay, we'll just take this off. Okay, all ready to go. Gonna hit okay. And now I'm going to skip, remember, we're going to skip the first step because we don't need that out, that line. Okay, and I'm going to do my placement line for my next X. Yes, this is a dime magnetic hoop. This is the 6x10. So I have all dime hoops. If you have brother hoops, try the brother hoops. Yes, you can use a larger hoop, Jackie. It's just a little harder to hoop because you're going to be, you know, you've got a small area you're working in, but it'll work. It just needs to be in the hoop enough to stay. Okay. All right. So there's my X. I'm going to go ahead and put my fabric in. Okay. Do my tack down line. And if you can't, if it doesn't work very well with the bigger hoop, just use a standard hoop, maybe a 6x10 or an 8x8. So you have something a little bit more to hang on to. And I did trim mine beforehand. You could, if you left the outsides on, you know, after you quilt it, if you'd leave your the extra batting and fabric on, that would give you a little bit more wiggle room with the hooping also. So then you'd have a little something more to, you know, nab onto. But I knew I had small hoops, so I just picked a smaller hoop. Okay, so we're going to trim this. So is this easy? Everybody got this figured out how they're going to do this? It's pretty easy. And all the designs are pretty basic. For all of them that I've done so far, they've been pretty basic designs. I think it was the April one, had more colors. So I did, you know, quite a few bobbins, but the back of mine I think it looks nice with the color on the back. Okay, so I'm just got this one. I'm going to stand up here on the side so I can do this. There was another question. I haven't seen it yet. Just a second. I need to see if I can answer it. Let me finish trimming here and then I'll answer that. Well, this is sewing. Somebody's asking about if you don't use a magnetic hoop, is it harder to keep the material in the hoop? I always have issues with material. No, I don't have any trouble, but it depends on your batting, of course. When you got batting in here, there's a couple of kind of battings that I don't care for when it comes to quilting and stuff because they're stiff and they're hard to hoop. So this is Hobbs 80/20. It's very soft. It's got a little more loft to it, so I really like that. But the other one, the one that I would not recommend is Warm and Natural, unless it's the Warm and White. Warm and White is soft. The Warm and Natural is kind of hard and stiff, so it makes it harder to hoop. So I would definitely say to use a magnetic hoop back because it will work better. Yeah, I use my snowman a lot. So the snowman is something that a lot of people don't think about using, and I use it a lot because I do a lot of this quilting, and I find it very useful. Okay. And it's so easy. Did you see how easy it was? And I used it in the video for the quilting. also, because I do most of my quilting that way too. So use your snowman. Don't be afraid of it. It's just a couple of buttons and then it's done. So, and it really does a nice job, and the quilting works great that way. Yep, don't be afraid of your machines. They're awesome things. I mean, I can't say enough about this Luminaire. I just love this machine, and I've used this machine a lot, and it's so much fun, and it has so many beautiful, beautiful things that make it easier to hoop straight, to hoop in place, to place things, to quilt, to, you know, I mean, it's been amazing. What if you use heat resistant batting? Would that be, is that necessary, Sissy? I don't understand that question really. I don't use, that's not what I use for quilting. I use that if I'm making like pot holders or something, but this would not be a pot holder. I don't think you would need to use that. That stuff's kind of thick and also kind of stiff. So for this particular project, I probably wouldn't recommend that. Okay. So, whoops, almost forgot. Don't forget, do the center. Be very careful when you nip that you don't, because it's like reverse applique. Don't nip your top. Got to get the O out, the middle of the O out. It's a heart. And next week we're gonna do some photo stitch. I haven't taught my photo stitch class for a long time, so we're gonna do photo stitch in PE design. So a lot of you do have PE design, and we're going to talk about both PE designs. 10, 11 are basically the same, and PE design next, which was version 9. So a lot of you have that. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that would be fine. It might be a little easier to use a magnetic hoop then on that, Sissy, just because it's going to be thicker and it's a little stiffer than this is. All right, so we're off to the races again for our satin stitch. So does anybody need to see me hoop this again? Can you do it? Or you want me to do it one more time? Want me to hoop one more? We got time if you want me to. So this takes a few minutes to sew out, but I'd be happy to hoop another one for you if you'd like to see it the third time, and then we don't have to sew the third one out. May have to wind another bobbin though. Second, I'm going to stop this just a second. I think I've got a piece of fabric here. I think it's going to cover it up though. Yeah, it will. So let me know if you'd like me to hoop it one more time so you can see the hooping and the scanning again one more time. But we get to watch it satin stitch. Oh, about next week. Okay, so next week is going to be a software class, and we're going to be using PE Design Next. Or PE, I'm using 11, version 11. That's the newest version. Some of you would have 10, version 10. And then a lot of you have PE Design Next. Now, I've done a lot of photo stitch in PE Design Next. So if you have Next, I'm going to talk about the settings for that as well. They're different than the newer versions. Okay, please hoop one more time. Okay. Want me to hoop one more time? Oh, Lynn didn't get to see the first time, so I will do it again for Lynn. I think, okay. So, but PE Design photo stitch, you can take a photograph and you can really make thread art. And I've been doing these since version 5, I think. And I really, really love photo stitch. I always have, and I've done a lot of portraits. I've done a lot of animals. I've done lots of different, I like landscapes done in it. So it's just something, another thing you can do with your embroidery machine, but you do have to have software to do it. And I know a lot of you do have PE Design, just different versions. So depending on what you have, I will tell you some different settings, and But that's what we're going to do next week. I'm going to show you, there's a little dog I've always done in the actual sample, but I have a beautiful picture of a little girl that a friend of mine allowed me to use, and I'm going to show you that one as well and show you how I did that. Yep, P Design 10 is great. That will work fine. How do you know if you have P Design? P Design is a software program, Sissy, that would have come with your machine. I don't think Tim was doing PE Design with the machines at the quilt show. So unless you had it somewhere else, you probably don't have it. But you can get it, and I have a lot of students that still have an older version of it, which is PE Design Next, which is version 9. And it is just fine for photo stitch. It does a great job, actually. So you don't have to buy anything to take it. You can watch the class and see if it's something that's interesting to you. I don't use PE Design as my main software anymore. I do photo stitch in it mostly. I like PE Design, but I love the Dime software. So I teach most of my classes in that. But people have been asking me about photo stitch lately, and I thought I'd better teach the class. It's been about 4 years since I've taught it. So I thought we'd have a class on photo stitch. So hopefully that answered your question, Carol. I think it was Carol that asked about that. I love photo stitches, and I've done tons of them. If you've been to the Iowa City store, I have a whole back room full of photo stitches. So show me the screen before I will. So Jackie, what it is, you have to go all the way through like you're ready to sew, and it's the embroidery screen. But yours says edit instead of layout. Your screen says edit there. It's under edit. They changed it between the Dream Machine and the Luminaire. Yes, the Tempo Tearaway from Floriani is the same thing. Yes, it is. That will work just fine. I happen to have the Dime now because I used all my Floriani. Did you find it, Jackie? They changed that setting, that little button. It's different on the Luminaires. Okay, got our X done. Now I'm going to do the O, and then we'll hoop one more time. It's pretty cool. This makes it really fast, and then I'll only have one more to do. So oh, you're not sewing right now. You're upstairs. Okay. Jackie says she's upstairs, so she's not sewing. But yeah, it's just you just hit the, all the way through like you're going to start embroidering on the embroidery screen, and then it's under edit on your machine. And the newer machines say layout now, so it just depends on the machine you have. All right, so it's going around the outside. They do a beautiful job on the satin stitches. This has been a real fun. I love it. I've been loving these. They're fun, and it was kind of a fun way to learn a different way to do them than the way the book said, because I wanted to be able to quilt them. So it gave me a chance to use the clear blue tiles. So what's everybody thinking about the clear blue tiles that has them? Do you like them? I'm really getting to like them because I think they're easy because you don't have to connect them together. Less steps. So what do you think of the clear blue tiles? I know a bunch of you have just purchased them not too long ago. I don't have any of the essential sets in stock right now. They will be here, I hope, soon. They were on back order, but they should be coming in. I really like mine. I really resisted them for some time. I like it because I don't have to connect the start point and an end point. I think it's faster to get the quilting done. And they are different. You just have to kind of You know, if you haven't used them, it just takes a little getting used to. And once you've done it a few times, you'll really get used to them. How much are they? The essential set is like $149, but you get a bunch of tiles, and then you get like all the designs. I think there's at least eight full sets of designs. So those are like $12 to $14 a piece, and then you get like tons of tiles in there. I do not. Okay, the Kimberbell tape. Okay, so did you watch my quilting video, Cindy? When I quilt with them, I do not use tape. I zigzag my edges down because it does not matter what I do. If I put tape on it, the foot goes under it every time. No, I do not like their pens, Colleen. And if you watch my video, I do not use their pens. I use the Nifty Notions heat vanishing pens. You can also use the Frictions, but I have a little trouble with Frictions leaving marks on my quilt. So those are not my favorite pens. I had a little trouble with this one, and I think I got it out. I couldn't find my Nifty Notions pen, and when I had a white mark on my red, so it leaves white marks often on your dark fabrics, and it sometimes will leave brown marks on your white fabrics. And I was able to get it out. If you see that it's leaving a white mark, if you take a damp sponge and sponge over the area where the mark is, let it dry a little bit, and then iron over it, it usually takes the white mark out. But the Nifty Notions ones don't seem to do that. That's why I like those better. But I found it. It's in my drawer. I just couldn't find it. The washable pens that come with the clear glue tiles, I would tell you just to throw them away because they do not come out. And even if you wash your product, they often still come back because it gets down in the batting and it keeps coming up to the top. Right. The Frictions they're actually made for paper. They're not made for fabric. So they work, but they don't always work. So I do like the Nifty Notions ones better. Okay, so there's this one. What do you think? There's another corner. It's all done. So I'm going to flip over and I'll show the quilting. I'll show the hooping one more time so that Lynn can see that. Okay, so I got my template. So here's my template. And remember, it kind of tips to the right. So I'm going to get this in here. Okay, and I'm going to stick my template down. But when I quilt, I figured out that if I zigzag my edges down, and if I'm doing a larger quilt, what I do is I will quilt, I'll do a little bit of it, and then I work my way out as I'm quilting. But these small pieces, I just zigzag around the edge because I cannot, no matter what I do, I'm sorry, you put tape down, your foot still goes under it. There's just no way around it. And I struggle with that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line this up with my center. So I've got this pushed on. Okay. I lined it up with my seam allowance. That's for the border. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to line this up with my snowman. I put my snowman in there. I missed where you said to go to get the template for the accident. Oh, the template. You can, Margaret, you can go and just open it up in your Dime software. Just open up the design and then just go print it out of your Dime software. You've got the Dime software. You can just open it up. All you do is open it up and print it. Just make sure you print it with the lines on it so that you've got the lines, okay? Now, see, I'm a little low. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up a little bit. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit more. Sometimes I get a little off. And that's why I wanted just a little bigger hoop, because if I get a little off on this, then there's a little more wiggle room for the machine to be able. Yeah, so just open your design up in your software and just print it off. And that's how you get the template. And that helps so much. It works with the, if you're using your grids and using a standard hoop, it works really good for that too. But that helps you because working with templates really helps. So I print templates a lot. Okay, let's see if I did better this time. You can use it on any, so Anna, if you don't have the Dime software, if you have some other digitizing software, it'll allow you to print, but you can go to Dime. It's inspiredbydime.com, and they have a free software that you can just open your designs up and print them. It's a free software called Embroidery Toolshed. So you can just download that to your computer if you don't have any other software and use that. I have the full version, but if you don't have anything, just go get the free one because you can still print templates with it. Okay, Inspired by Dime, and I'll put that in the description too, inspiredbydime.com. They don't have a template like this, Sissy. This is this is just, I opened this up in my digitizing software. If you don't have any, you can go get the free version of the Dime Embroidery Toolshed. So you can just open this up, see this on your screen, and click print, and it will print this template for you. Okay, so I'll put that link in the description so you know where to go to get the free software. Because if you don't have any software, that's a good way to start. You can do a little bit of editing. You can resize a little bit. You can change the colors. But you can print these templates, and that's how you can do it. And you don't have to pay for software. And if you like the software, then you can get more involved with it. I teach classes starting next month. We'll start up on Dime classes again because we're going to do a P design class first. Okay, so I've got it all hooped. Okay, so here's my snowman. Looks like it does on the screen over here. Now we need to go get to so we're on the embroidery screen. Okay, this is for Jackie. We're on the embroidery screen, and your button's going to say edit right here. Mine says layout. I'm going to touch that, and there's my little snowman dude. I'm going to click him. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click scan. And OK. And all it's going to do is going to scan, and it's going to find that. Okay, so hopefully mine's sticking down. Every now and then, if the paper sticks up a little bit, it doesn't want to find it, so I may have to stick it down a little harder. Okay. So it looks like it might have found him. There he is. And it's adjusting him. So you center, yes. So the square, Lynn, I don't know if you saw it at the beginning, but what I did, and you can call me later, what I did is the line that is on the screen. So let me just go over that for Lynn real quick because she had internet problems. This line that's on the screen that prints off on your template is 1/4 of an inch too far away because remember, we have a seam allowance in here. So I took a pencil and I marked that from that line up 1/4 of an inch. And then I cut my template out on that line. And that's what I'm laying on my seam line right here. Because remember, we have a seam line here where the original instructions, that would have been the bottom of the corner fabric. So see, that line is in here. So see, it's still the same, but I just cut it off 1/4 of an inch. So if you need more explanation, since you missed that little part, you can go back and watch it again too. But that's what I did, is I marked that line that's on the screen is the placement line. Okay. All right. And then I took a pencil and marked up 1/4 of an inch from that. And that's where I cut my template out so that I can just lay it right along my seam line, right along that seam line between the border and the triangle. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So it says remove the positioning mark. Look at there. We're all ready to go with another one. Now I am going to have to, I'm not going to start this one because I think I need to take it out for a minute and puts a new bobbin in, okay? So make sure that you change your bobbin. You don't want to have to do it in the middle. I know I'm going to need another bobbin, so. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch the camera here. Give me a second. Everybody okay? Think you can do it? I know you can do it. All right, so here's my other one. I wanted to show it, hold it up for you. So here's the other one with all 4 of them on. Okay, all 4 corners. Okay, and then here is the back. So I'll hold it up close. So there's the back. I think it looks good. It just gives some color on the back. And I think they look just fine that way. And some of the ones that I've done, since then have had more colors. So I have like multiple colors on, on the back. So I just change the colors and I wind them up before I start. This one just happens to be 1. Okay. So, we have to do our drawing. Are you ready for the drawing? So if you win the drawing and you're not close enough to the store that you can come in and get it, you will need to personal message me your address, your name and address so that I can mail it to you. Okay. For those of you who are close enough to come into the store, I will have it at whichever store you're closer to. Okay. So I'm going to do my little trick here. And has everybody been commenting so they can get enrolled? Ready for the drawing? Are you ready? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my tablet and I'm just going to go back and forth between all these comments that are here. And I'm just going to go like this. Okay. Up and down. Are you ready? All right, so I'm just going to put my finger on somebody's name. I'm not looking. Okay, I got my finger on somebody's name, and it is Jackie Gordon. So Jackie Gordon won the prize today, and today's prize is one of my project bags. So Jackie Gordon, you won the project bag for this week. Okay, so Jackie's actually close to the Iowa City store, so I'll have this at the store for you, okay? So you can pick it up next time you're in town, okay, or over our way, and then we'll do this every week. So I'm just going like this and plunking my finger down. Okay, so next week will be software. We'll do some photo stitch, and the following week then we're going to be doing another cutie. So we're going to go on to the March one. So if you have any questions, get me, you can personal message me, you can email me, you can call me at the store, and we're going to continue on with these cuties. I'm going to do another corner here, try to finish mine. I'm going to put the binding on. The binding video went up about 7 o'clock. So the binding video is on the Facebook group, and I will have it on YouTube within an hour. It usually takes me about an hour to get everything up. So I will do that, and I will see you next week, and we'll do a little bit of photo stitch. I'm always excited for photo stitch. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So Jackie Gordon is the winner of the project bag this week. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.